Right, Neil, it's great to have you back on the podcast today.
Yeah, great to be back, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you back, and yeah, I just kind of like thought I'd start off by kind of introducing you again because you're into coaching as well, and you're a coach,
Yeah.
and all just saying like this kind of current time right now in the UK, we're calling for a lockdown, and I know it's different around the world in different scenarios, but I think like mental health's like a big thing at the minute, and I think um, we can kind of go into that if you like.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important, and I think the one thing that might be really helpful is to just say that obviously it affects everyone, and I'm including myself in that. Though I've had weeks that have been quite difficult, and I think what I'm hearing from people around me, and this is anecdotal, it's not remotely factual and research, but is just a sense of being weary and a bit sad and a bit angry and a bit lost. Those seem to be the kind of feelings or things that people are saying around me. And I guess just some thoughts about, as a coach, what I need to do about that for myself, because I'm doing a lot of self-care work at the moment to kind of change that situation, and it's working, so that's great. But also for clients and for other people as well.
Yeah, so and I think like as well, everyone's kind of going to experience, their own kind of difficulties. I think like it's been difficult in the UK, I think, because of like the winter. We have like quite harsh winters and the weather's not always great. I think that just adds on top of like the current situation. It's like how you excuse me, how are you going to, kind of push through that, and what necessary things can we do with the things that we, the utilities that we do have. And people I think are definitely experiencing difficult times, but I was saying previously there's like a spectrum almost. There's people who are thriving and they're doing really well in business or XYZ situation, and then there are people who aren't. And I think we can't really overlook that. And there are those spectrums to it, to how things have been, I think.
I think that's a beautiful point. I think it's I think we're very, very worried in this country about saying, on the one hand, we seem to be very worried of saying anything that's going to upset anybody else. But on the other hand, we tend to make blanket statements about issues and things, and create a one version of what's happening. And I think what you're describing is absolutely true. There are people who are having different experiences, which doesn't, and by saying that, if people are thriving, that doesn't mean that other people's experiences of going through extreme difficulty gets lost somehow or is being disrespected, which I think is how people hear it sometimes. But I think the first thing to help lift low mood or kind of feeling overloaded by it is what you're saying. I think that's really important. If we can accept that there is a spectrum of what's going on, then immediately we start to realize that for the people who are suffering, there are also people who are doing well. And certainly in terms of my meditation practice, which is where I think most of my techniques that are working for me are coming from, the idea that some people are doing well is something that I can connect to give me hope, but also to recognize that the world still gives back. So it's not a hopeless, dark place like it might feel.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. I think as well, if you, by seeing like that, and if you share, how you feel, there's going to be people out there who might feel the same, and they're kind of like, you don't feel like there's something wrong with you by saying, saying to someone, "Oh, I don't feel too good today." They go, "Oh, well, I don't either. I'm experiencing X, Y, Z," and then you're like, oh, "Okay, well, yeah, maybe I'm not the only person who's finding it hard," And I think it's that kind of honesty with yourself, isn't it? And really kind of accepting what's going on and taking that responsibility for it, and not because it's like, if you everyone has down days or might have days that aren't the same, and it's like being okay with that, isn't it? And
Yeah.
as like I said, as a coach, there are many ways we can help, kind of make support their mental health, isn't there? meditation or exercise at home if they can, or the garden, or they don't have a garden, then making a space. There's lots of different things, books to read. There's lots of good content you can look at, isn't there? What would you suggest? Has helped you, or kind of what people could probably do? I mean,
yeah, that's a really good question. I think okay. So 4 or 5 things kind of come to mind. I think it is good to connect to it. Well, I think that you're right. The first step is being able to say I am this. So, for example, there's a meditation practice I just did this morning. Tara Brach, who's an American Buddhist and psychologist as well, which is amazing. So the thing was just kind of focusing on the breath, like a lot of meditation stuff is, but then just sitting with whatever happens and just saying yes to it. And I've tried it in the past, and I've just thought it's a bit foofy. But actually, this morning, it really worked. It meant that everything that I experienced or felt legitimized somehow. It was okay for me to feel it and to kind of be there. So I think that's stage one. I think connecting with other people who experience the same is important, but I also think it's become a bit of a curse in this country, particularly on social media, because then we clan up together. We become tribes, and the moment that there's an us, there's always a them. For us, finger pointing seems to have become something that's been encouraged, and also something that's very, very rife. But the problem with us and them is there can't be a we. And in order to get other people's insights, I'm thinking about this from my experience of fibromyalgia and being in a group that was just about how awful things were, which was great because it made you feel like you're part. But then where's the hope? And actually I had to go to other places to find answers to those questions. They included people with fibromyalgia, but also different communities too. So I think there's other answers and other tribes, if you like. And if we don't reach out to some of those, then we risk isolating ourselves. And for me, as I say, meditation's been the big thing. The big thing for me has been compassion, because when lockdown started, I'd spent about 25 years being an angry 40 going into middle-aged-year-old man, and I started off being really angry with the way that people were responding to lockdown, for example. And about that same time, blatant plug that you can edit if you need to, a book by Tara Brach called Radical Compassion came out, and I thought, okay, so this is you were talking about core values before we came on the call, and I thought, yeah, okay, so this is a core value that's calling to me. Compassion is exactly what's going to make the difference to the way that I approach all these things. So if I, learning compassion for myself and then for everyone else around me, so I'm not isolated and angry all the time. And okay, that sounds great, and it sounds glib, and it sounds okay. Have you done it? Answer is work in progress, which of course all meditation is. It's a practice. It's not a tick box exercise. So I'm still working for that. And like any exercise, you were talking about exercise before, when you that you need to strengthen that compassion muscle, I'd say, which is going to take me time, but I do honestly think it's going to work as a result. So that's one that's worked for me. I know lots of people say meditation, they can't sit still, it's not their thing, but you can also meditate while you're running, while you're walking. It's not just about sitting still and breathing if that's not your thing. So that's what I'd say. Yeah.
No, they're really great points, and I think like it's really good to do that. And I think like having like good books where we can draw from, the content that's in there and applying it to your life and kind of learning things as well, isn't it? And
Yeah.
developing yourself. And I think like compassion's a big one. And, it's just like that gratitude, isn't it? And taking responsibility for your life. And, to, like you said, it's a work in progress and taking that each day at a time. And I think, when you think that way and you act that way, you kind of give yourself a break almost. I think sometimes, we want things straight away, and it's like a step-by-step process, and being okay with that. I think especially like, with lockdown here in the UK, and, there are going to be days where, like right now, the weather's not really great outside where I am.
Yeah.
And,
Likewise.
Yeah, and there's going to be days like that. So you might not feel like doing X, Y, Z, or you might actually feel, X, Y, Z, and that's okay. And that, it's that those waves almost, isn't it? But I think when you're aware of that, and what kind, ask me yourself those questions, isn't it? What can you do, with what you have? Like, yeah, you can't control the weather, so what can you control? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's really beautiful. And that thing you're saying about gratitude as well. And it's interesting that gratitude, and I think compassion as well, and stuff like that, has become part of mainstream thinking about what people call self-improvement, which is a phrase that I kind of have a problem with, because we're fine as we are. We seem determined as a nation to keep battering ourselves with what we're not doing, and I know I've heard people go, oh, I haven't done my gratitude journal today. Oh my God, that means that I have not. Like it's part of the to-do list, and if you approach it like that, it's just something else to beat yourself up with. So you're absolutely right. It's about, what were the words you used? It was perfect. It was like, oh,
Where you can't control or something.
yeah, what you were saying about just the way that you look after yourself, just being kind to yourself about it as well. Yeah. So there's lots of days where on a low day, I've only been able to get, I'm grateful for my dog, and even that was a push, but that's especially with his gas emissions, but actually but I'm okay with that. And actually, if I can't find anything on that day, I go and listen to a podcast, a kind of Dharma talk about the topic that I need to help me get back to that. So yeah.
No, I see. I think that's a really good point you mentioned. Having, like, sometimes I can do a lot. I've got a lot of tasks and things that I feel like I need to be doing or do, and a lot of the time it's difficult. Because I might have like 20 something different things, and as well as doing podcasts, posting content, and everything else. And then sometimes if I don't get X, Y, Z things done, or if I don't post something, or if I forget to do my gratitude list, I feel like X, Y. I feel like, oh, and then that can leak into the next day, and then before you know it, 2, 3 days gone by, but that happens. That's okay. I think I think as long as you're aware of that, is like if you don't have too much to write in your list, sometimes I'm like that. Oh yeah, my surroundings or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have to kind of give ourselves a break sometimes, don't we? It's okay to be like that, but I think we can sometimes have so much expectations on ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's true. And that thing about so I'm on a 30-day challenge at the moment.
Oh yeah, you said
yeah. And my goal, which I haven't revealed to the group, is to have less goals, because if I have less goals and actually spend more time actually focusing mindfully on the tasks themselves, that I know that will make me more effective at my work, and also more crucially give me time to switch off. So but I feel like I can't say that, just in case people think I'm saying that it's a criticism about them. We're back to where we started, actually, about this thing of being worried about what we say to anybody these days. But I do honestly think let's all just do less.
I think that's a good point. That's something that I'm working on at the minute, because like I said, I've got all these different tasks I feel like I need to do, and I've written the most of them down. But like I said, as you said, everyone's got different goals, and that's absolutely fine. Everyone's got different lists. That's fine. But I think, like, if you have, like, let's say, break it down into chunks, and you say you take 5 or whatever from that list, and you kind of focus on them, it gives you that more. This is something that I'm trying to work on. Like, one at a time or whatever. You're more focused, aren't you, if you have, like, say, less compared to 20 all at once. And I think it's just how we're wired. Because I was researching or revising my course I'm doing, and it said something like we can only hold 7 things in our mind at once, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? How sometimes we don't get 20 things done because we can only focus on however many at once.
So true. Yeah. No, that's so true. And interestingly, talking about this, the self-development stuff, improvement. I don't even know what word to use. Some of those books, there's books I've had to put down because they're shouting at me. There's even a set of books that are called something. Talk about framing in a non-positive way. How to not, excuse my language, and you might have to.
Yeah, I don't mind.
But there's like billions of books that are called like How to Not Give a Fuck About.
Like, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, well, actually, isn't it more important to give a fuck about something? So, I mean, so there's that, but also there's books I felt really bullied by page 3. You should be doing this. This will save you. It was like, hey, back off. I've bought you, but I don't want you like in my face slapping me around like this.
Yeah.
So I also think that
like a UFC match or something.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's some books which are more about the ego of the person that's writing it than they are actually about. The kind of book that I've just flashed up. And here's another one, which is Jack Cornfield, who's kind of a works with Tara Brach sometimes as well. And this is
cool.
Yeah, it's called The Art of Forgiveness, Loving Kindness and Peace. And I know how that makes me sound, but I swear if we all could learn some of that, life would be just so much easier.
Yeah. What's that book called again?
It's called The Art of Loving Kindness, Forgiveness and Peace. So, and it's a mixture of, it's basically, it's a combination of things that people have said. It's got some quite complicated meditations in, but they're really great ones. And just some thoughts about how we kind of treat each other, and where we go with that, and how to just move forward without being remotely do this and battering you over the head with it, So I dip in and dip out of that one.
I think like you said, like books are really great, and I think there's different. I think like books and things, like it's people's own take and their own experience and what works for them, and it's like some books might work for you, some might not, and I think you've got to kind of take what you can from the book, having you apply what you need to,
absolutely,
that kind of thing. So I mean, like there's some books like that, and some kind of it's like a step-by-step guide, and I think everyone's different, aren't they? I mean, there's books that I've read here. I mean, one of the ones that I read a while ago called Tony Robbins and all that.
Yeah.
One of those classic ones, and and he has like diagrams, and he talks about mindset. So, but like a lot of that is pretty much like, but as you mentioned, like come on, do it kind of thing. But I think when everyone's different, aren't they? So it's like
absolutely,
and I think that's something that people probably overlook sometimes. Like what works for someone might not work for someone else.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that last book used to be with an ex-client of mine. That used to be almost like a joke between us, because every time I flash it up, she'd just go, "Don't show me that book," This is not what I need. So it kind of became. And likewise, meditation isn't the only way round lots of the stuff we're talking about. So you're right. Yeah. It's about being open to listening to other people, and you might get one nugget from someone whose whole approach you don't necessarily agree with, but they might have that one little nugget of information that you can try out that makes a difference. And that's why it's kind of it's worth being open to whoever, I think.
That's it. And I think it's interesting, isn't it? I think like when you think people think a different way and things like that. Like I like I won't go too much into LinkedIn, but like there's some posts on LinkedIn that are really great, and then there's some things people put, and it's like it doesn't kind of like make sense. And I think even you just got to respect people like different perspectives, and people just got different ways looking at things, haven't they? And but like I said, the world that we live in, a lot of people are afraid probably to say certain things because like we mentioned that actress who got like the cancel culture and all of that, and people being called out for certain things, and it's like I saw a guy who tweeted something. he tweeted something on Twitter and he lost his job. He put out a joke that wasn't very funny, but it was quite offensive. And he lost his job. And you think you could be like 10 seconds away from. I mean, this is different from what I'm talking about, but it's just like kind of.
No,
I
I think it's part of it though, because it's about how the difficulty we have in relating to each other, particularly at the moment at time of such stress. And I think we've gone. It's that thing. I was talking about tribalism before, wasn't I? So I think it's that thing of we go. It's like, if ever we're out of lockdown and I can be in a room with people I've not met before, please don't put me in a room with people just like me. Please, I don't. I want to be. Not that I'm looking for a fight or an argument, but just I want to hear different experiences to mine. And that's okay. I want people to challenge me sometimes, but but I want that because if that doesn't happen, I stay stuck thinking I'm okay and I never move on and progress. And how is that helpful?
But that's how you ultimately grow, isn't it? It's how you grow, and I think that's why I kind of like going on other people's podcasts or other people's shows sometimes, because I want to, to provide value on their content and what they're doing. But also, sometimes they might ask me questions that I haven't really thought about, or someone's not asked me, and it kind of puts you on the spot, and it can be uncomfortable. And someone asked me recently, "What's your legacy?" And I was a bit like, hang on a second, let me just think about this. So putting yourself around people who are different, who are doing different things, it pushes out your comfort zone, doesn't it? And I think that's
totally.
It opens up your perspective as well when you hear people's different stories of what they've been through in different areas.
Or even different parts of yourself. It's funny when you were thinking of that. So I was thinking about. So I watched this great training video, the coaching video. Can I give a plug to the coaching company because they're so fantastic? So Catalyst 14, who are also my trainers, is this brilliant coaching video about using metaphors and using metaphors within coaching context. And a lot of those metaphors are kind of cliche old ones that people come out with. I do it too. And immediately my writer brain starts going, no, don't keep me around cliches, because I'm trying to avoid using cliches in my writing. It was like this war in my head about I can't open up to this podcast because it will make my writing more crap, which probably isn't true. But it was just a really interesting moment where two different parts of my my working life just were kind of at war with each other, and it was like, oh, well, what do I do now? So I haven't got an answer to that one yet, by the way. But if anybody else has, please let me know. But
I think we do have clashes sometimes with stuff, don't we? Like we have I don't know. I think just part of being a person. Sometimes things come up, or we can be critical of ourselves, probably, or sometimes like part of it's. And I think that's just something that we have to work on, isn't it? You're going to come up against certain things and challenges, and I think people probably experience a lot of that with COVID and lockdown, and having to adapt in different situations and jobs that they might never have done before. I know people who are chefs, and I mean hospitality is kind of out the window right now.
Isn't it?
It's like, well, if people have done that for however many years, think, oh, maybe I should, I don't know, be a postman or whatever. Or it comes up, oh, I've never done that, I'm not good enough or whatever. It's just, I think, taking that each step, isn't it? And you just don't know.
No, that's a beautiful reflection, and actually, I think you put your finger on it. That actually, what it's about is my worry that my writing's not gonna survive being around cliches, which is I have been told off for cliche in writing by both my writers groups, but nevertheless, that's actually about my confidence, like you say. That's a really interesting reflection. And that kind of takes us back to where we started as well about how this situation is kind of intensifying all those kind of feelings that can happen about worthlessness and am I good enough, and can I adapt, and what does that mean? Yeah.
Because I mean, that's it, and I saw a video clip of myself I did when I was like last January, and I was talking about doing a podcast, and I didn't do a podcast until January 2020. So I partly thought, what was I doing in that time? What was I doing in that period of time where I said I was going to do it, but I didn't do it? And it's like you said, all that shit, so to speak, is there saying, "Oh, well, you shouldn't do this. Oh, people are going to think X, Y, Z," and I think that's just it's kind of part of it, isn't it? You're going to come up against yourself, especially if you're starting something new. Um, I was going to say something. I'll ask something. But I think it's like a journey, isn't it? It's just a process. It's a process.
Yeah, when you say that, that makes me think about our previous conversation about PTSD and about the fact that, I'm saying all of this, and, I am automatically, because I probably will for the rest of my life, quite happily do some CBT exercises that will help make sure that I remain buoyant and able to live a happy life. So there's that. I mean, there's that going on in the background as well. But actually, being able to respond to crisis, that it's great as long as you've got this range of things that you can do. And they might, like you say, I don't know whether you said this before the podcast or during, but yeah, and you have to be patient and wait for some of that, because oh no, you just said it now, actually. Yeah, that time that it would have taken to get from I want to do this to I am doing this can be quite a long time. And as I was saying last time, the reason I became a coach in the end isn't because I went, right, I'm going to get out of education, I need to do this for me. It's because I had a really number of experiences that made my mental health kind of take a tumble. So so I think, I'm not claiming I made that move, but I wasn't ready. And then you're on the path, and you resource yourself and surround yourself with the right kind of people, and start having these kind of conversations. And that's the other thing, I guess, that I'm saying as well about some of this, that being around the right kind of influences at the moment, I think particularly, and the right kind of conversations is really important.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that's a really good point, and that really does have an impact on your life, and I think your mental health, and I think the conversations you have and the people you have them with. Because I mean, sometimes I have people who send me stuff, and it's just negative. They're just engaging in negative stuff, and then that makes me feel negative, and then I might dip into that. I might do the same, and then it's just like a stirring pot of crap, and then that can just leak into other stuff. And I think, like, especially that's why I think it's so important, as you said, your energy and the kind of people you surround yourself with, and kind of what you look at, isn't it? I mean, it's trying to be self-aware, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. Well, I think the problem I've had with that whole branch of thinking in the past has been that it can often be from exactly the kind of writers that I was talking about before, that scare the crap out of you and basically go, be positive, don't think negative. And it's like, I say that too loud on the mic.
That's cool.
That's all right. But and that's like, well, screw you. But actually, yeah, I was telling you before, wasn't I? So I use positive psychology anyway within my coaching, but I had this experience last October, in November or October, where I did a course. Can I plug again? Is that all right?
Yeah, I'm open. Yes.
Yeah. So called The Lightning Process is the course, and it's well, my partner, he says that I'm 80% recovered from fibromyalgia as a result of it, certainly from the symptoms, and I've got to work for that. But it's all about what we're talking about. It's about the neuroplasticity. It's about creating new pathways in the brain that then don't go into the more negative ways of thinking. So it's not about being just, being a positive Nazi, as I like to call it. It's about changing the way your brain thinks, because the more your brain thinks that way, the more naturally that happens. And obviously that's a taking time thing, as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's something that I've been learning about with NLP and stuff. And it's interesting because it's like your brain's malleable, and what they used to believe is that you could only change the way you could only change your pathways and how you was thinking, like when you was a kid, and they thought, after a certain time that was it. And it's like, it's one step at a time, and I think it's you got to put in that work ultimately. You got to want to kind of change. You got to want to put in that work to get that outcome. And I think it's great that you've been able to shift from that, and that, but you probably had to make a decision to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, also, I'm very, very, very quick to add that that's because this was the right path for me. And coming back to what you were saying before, because it was so important, and it that's my story. That doesn't mean that it will work for everyone. I know the misery that fibro causes, and I know people have experiences. So it's not a competition, obviously, but I know, that there's a lot worse things that have happened to a lot of people because. I was in the community and reading about it and connecting with people about it. So I'm not saying, oh, this is what you should do, because it's not about that, but it is about readiness. And I guess what I'm thankful for is that I got to a point where I was ready to think about that. And that's not me negating the hard work I put in since about that. But for me, it's about being able to get yourself to the point where you're ready on the path, like you're saying about the podcast, being a podcast host and kind of having a podcast and editing and it being a business and kind of, having a platform and all the other billion things that you have to do, and finding guests who don't ramble on too much. But those things are, it's putting your brain in the right place and having the right people around you to do it that are, those are the things.
They're really big things, and I think the people around you is massive. And I've never, I promote it on like social media, but I've never forced people to like say you need to listen to this, or I'll say listen to this, but I might send them something that they can connect with it. And I think it's just kind of organically kind of grown, and I think it's I think, like you said, the people who support you in it keep you kind of going and kind of give you that kind of probably accountability as well. Because they might message you and say, "Oh, are you doing X, Y, Z?" And you kind of feel like you kind of have like a bit of responsibility, as well. You kind of have to show up. I suppose, like you in coaching, you have to show up. You have to.
That's really important. I mean, you're talking before, this started from us talking about people feeling lost, and me kind of including myself, having those moments. But it is when that thing about connecting to purpose, when you feel like there's purpose, when you feel like you can add something, and you are responsible, and you need to be able to do that for somebody, and you're living your life purposefully like that. I think that makes a huge difference with not feeling in a void and not feeling disconnected, because then you're doing something and you're going somewhere.
That's it. No, it's so important. And I would talk more. I've got like 5% on my phone battery, but like where can people? It's been really great having you back on the podcast, Neil. And
I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's always good fun. And where can people connect with you on your website and your coaching? And,
okay, so my website address is lifecoach dash so try that again, lifecoach london.com, and my email address is neil@lifecoach-london.com. And even if it's an inquiry about me being a writer and stuff like that, that's fine. If it all comes through there, I can sort it through. But no, it's been really great, Adam, and I've really appreciated kind of I just had an inkling that freestyling on this would be a really interesting thing to do, and I feel really kind of resourced from the conversation we've had, and I look forward to whatever we tackle next. So
no, awesome.
You take good care of yourself.
No, you too, Neil. It's been great having you on, and I wish you all the best in what you're doing. And I really enjoyed it. It's been really organic, and I hope you have a great day, and look forward to next time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you take it easy. All the best. Take it easy.
Bye.